So like the one that you saw me do, she talks like this, and it's like you take your tongue and you make it like really in the way, and you make it kind of nasally, and Candy has a lot of personality. So I just
oh my God, that's amazing.
I just do these like little variations.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Durham, and this is the Benanda podcast. And today, it's Ben and Alyssa. She's a friend from way back in elementary school, and since then, we kind of parted ways and did our own thing. I moved away, and that was elementary school, ages ago. But since then, we reconnected on Facebook, and I discovered that she started doing YouTube videos on her own. So, of course, I wanted to know more. I'm going to go ahead and just brief you on who she is. Reading off of her YouTube About page. She created the channel because she's obsessed with languages, culture, and traveling. She makes videos in both Italian and English. These videos are primarily instructional, but also include culture, traveling, vlogs, and just chatty videos in general. She loves to talk, which is great for podcasting. Yes, I may have modified what she wrote in her About page. So now that you're in the know, let's roll the intro. Wait, I haven't made that. On with the show. We stopped talking because we were going to cover something. Now I forget what the thing was.
Shouldn't we like say hi first?
Oh yeah. Okay, well.
You idiot.
Hi, welcome to the Benanda podcast. And did I peek there? No, I didn't. Okay, perfect. I'm still figuring out the audio levels. So, who are you?
Who am I? Well, we've known each other for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
But like so I think we first met sometime in elementary school.
Yes, can confirm then.
I don't know exactly when that is. Oh God, my laptop is heating up.
Oh no. Okay, so you're Elissa, not Alyssa, correct?
Yes.
So that's your YouTube channel name, and what other like platforms are you on? Or is that like the primary one that you're doing?
Well, I suppose that's the primary one. Obviously, I'm more active on Instagram just because you can like make a story and just it's quick. But yeah, primarily YouTube. And then also, I've always had Instagram and Twitter because, well, I mean, everyone kind of has it. But yeah, primarily that and a Facebook page. But
okay. And when did you want to make that something somewhat professional? Or is it actually very professional now? Or
well, I mean, I guess I started when I was in Australia. It's not that I was kind of lonely and bored, and like I wanted kind of human connection, you know what I mean? Human connection, like on a wider scale, I suppose. And so I started making these videos because, I mean, I felt like I had something to say, and I had some tricks for language stuff, and so I just figured I'd slip some videos on there. And actually, the first couple of videos I did like pretty well. So yeah. So that's where the YouTube thing started.
I feel like now that you bring that up, I have a similar path because my first video that I put up was like a short 5-minute documentary that I was going to submit, and I did submit to CBC Docs. Wait, was it CBC? No, something Docs, Hot Docs. And it didn't win, but it did get like 150,000 views, 125,000 views or something like that. Meanwhile, I checked yours and you're at like 300,000 on your best one. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. But yeah.
No, I mean, it's different. It's different because here's the thing. Like, I started with that video because first of all, it was something I felt needed to be taught and I knew, like, I didn't know it was going to get 300,000 views, but I knew it wasn't going to get no views because I knew my technique was good. And also I knew that when I was trying to learn how to roll my R's, I went through every single video on YouTube, like one after another, because I was so desperate to get this damn sound. And so I knew that eventually people who were as desperate as I was would end up coming across that video. And again, I didn't know I was going to reach that many, but I figured it would probably be the one with the most views, but yeah.
Boom, done. So, okay, from my perspective, you do some YouTube, and we reconnected. We reconnected when. So it was on Facebook, and we've had each other on Facebook for a while now. Yeah. But then I think, did you ask camera stuff, or did I say, "Hey, that was a good YouTube video. Do you want any tech help?" I feel like that might have been it.
I think Yeah, I feel like you might have messaged me, and then after I asked you about camera stuff later, because yeah. I think that's how it went.
That was a slick introduction. Be like, hey, I do that too, but you're doing it really well. Here.
Me?
Yeah, you were doing it really well. But some, like the actual. So I think what people get wrong with YouTubing is that you need to be a tech god to be able to do it. The main thing is doing it. Like just what you did, which is you used what you had and you did it. Done. And that's like, no matter if you have better quality, you might get more views or this or that. But for the most part, like you just found a niche or what you wanted to do, and you saw a gap in there being a good video, and then you did it. You used, was that your iPod Touch at that point, or was that a different?
Yeah, it was my iPod Touch from like 2011 or 12 or something. Oh my gosh. It was like
And you put that video out when?
like over a year ago. That first video, it's probably been a year and a half.
So you used a 2012 iPod Touch in 2018. I wanted to put that into perspective.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Like, it was the only thing I had, and I knew that, the software that Apple uses for their camera, like, it was a much better choice than my phone. Also because my phone, like, I didn't want to use my phone because I knew with getting notifications and stuff, if there was like that overlap, it would just like explode. And so, but what I had to do was I had to keep it plugged in while I filmed. So,
Had its battery died, or?
yeah, the battery dies pretty quickly. Yeah, so I just kept it in because I was like paranoid. But yeah. So I started with that, and I mean I had no microphone, but the thing is, using what you have and being smart about it. It's like film in front of a damn window, you know? Film in front of a window. Like look how like okay, now I have an actual camera. It's not like a DSLR, but like it's a point and shoot, but it's a decent point and shoot, and I'm in front of a window, and
Oh no.
what?
You lagged up for a second. I was like, oh no, this is when it crashed.
Oh shit.
No.
No,
Okay.
no, it's still good for now. Should I pause my audio and save it and then we continue?
Oh, I have older lights that I got for cheap, and they're incandescent, and they're really, really hot. Like
Oh damn.
it heats up very quickly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just film, in the morning ish. Before 2 o'clock usually.
Me too. It's
So,
before
yeah.
what, 6? No,
Yeah.
no, it's like 7
But
now.
I mean, I guess, as I was saying, the important thing is like use what you have and be smart about it. Obviously I wasn't amazing at presenting myself on camera at the beginning. Like I was a little bit shy. Now I'm just, it's like I forget it's there. But that's something you get used to, but just be smart about it. And obviously if I didn't go and get a DSLR because, well, first of all, money, but also, I don't have 100,000 subscribers. So like it doesn't, so I got something that's mid that I could use if I wanted to vlog or if I wanted to do sit down videos. Like it worked for everything. You know what I mean? So it's more versatile.
Yeah, and it works for photos and everything as well. Sometimes you get the
Yeah.
actual video cameras. Then you have, okay, this is where the technical stuff comes in. They're technically better visually and they're cheaper, but you don't get the background blur, and you can't take photos with them.
Yeah.
So anyway, the one that you got, I think you'd mentioned it was like, was it the G something?
G7X Mark II.
Okay, so like Canon G7X Mark II, and it just
Yeah.
worked. I was like, yeah, go for it, because boom, done. It's what you need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the quality's pretty, like it's what I need for my purposes for now. You know what I mean? Maybe in the future, if I'm able to put videos out consistently and I actually if I have more people following and whatever, and I want to make a better quality, then yeah, for sure, eventually I'll do that. But, taking things slow, basically.
Totally derailing this. I'm curious because you have your microphone up here and I have mine down here.
Yeah.
Is that to open up your voice? I've heard that said before about putting your microphone up, because then you're not like going down, you're like projecting up. Or what's your rationale?
Oh, it's partially that, I suppose, so that I don't have the feeling of going down. I kind of stay up, but also, I find it's like less in the way for the camera also, because the cord is going up and it's off screen, whereas if it were the other way around, it would be on screen. So it kind of gives more space in there. And also because I want to have my laptop very close to the camera so that he like hears me looking at them and hears me looking at you, so it's not too much of a difference, and that it's not in the way, so I can see you.
Okay.
You know? So it's a few things, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I guess I'm looking here. I have my spirally thing. Oh, I guess you do see it on there too. But yeah, I have that. And
the pop filter.
Yeah. I always found that actually it was more out of the way here, because then it was like in my forehead when I was up here. But yeah. Anyway, it's just interesting because I thought it might have been also because you do voiceover. Yes?
A bit.
Okay. Because I saw a story, speaking of all of your stories earlier, on the Instagrams.
Yeah.
Actually, it was really cool. I say actually, but no, it was cool. Because
you mean my little voice?
Yeah. So who and when and how and what? Can you explain that? Like, oh wait, we never got into how you even got to Italy, but we'll get there.
It's a long story. We're probably gonna need like 3 podcasts to cover my entire life.
All
so
right.
The voiceover thing happened actually through YouTube. So there's this Italian YouTube channel where they do videos for kids. So like, you know, toy unboxings and using the toys as if it's a cartoon, but playing with toys, you know what I mean? Videos like that. And so they contacted me asking me to do voiceover for them because they needed someone who was a English native speaker who was really good in Italian so that they could translate on the fly. And you know, had some, like, I have a neutral accent and also, you know, decent voice / acting abilities. Like I can do voices and stuff. And I mean, they didn't know that. I think they kind of lucked out, but yeah, so they contacted me and then asked me to do videos for them. So I started doing like 5 videos a week. Not just the voiceover.
I was going to say, wow, 5 a week? That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's, at the beginning they were shorter. They were like 6, 7, 8 minutes. Now they've gotten longer. They're like 18 minutes. And so it takes me a while because I don't have to prepare in the sense that I don't have to watch it first and then translate and think about what I'm going to say. I just basically listen to each line, pause, say it, listen, pause, say it. Like I just do it like that. So it takes me roughly 2.5 times the length of the video to record it because of pausing and repeating and, you know, but generally I say each line, I guess, once. I don't redo it a million times, you know, because there are just so many. Like you can't spend that much time making it, you know. And the tough thing is that I'm doing like sometimes there are 12 characters in one video, and I have to have at least somewhat different voice for each character. So,
how do you come up with the voices? So, like, are you thinking? Or not thinking, but do you do like 5 voices or?
Well, I have like a starting point for some of them. Like it's a personality thing. So, you know, I also think about what the Italian girl did. Like what did she do? And I try to make it somewhat the same, but make it my own. So like, you know, my typical boy voice is like, okay, well, let's do a failed attempt at Bart Simpson or something of that, you know, something like that. And obviously I'm not going to make it perfect because, well, I'm not as amazing as Nancy Cartwright, but also I have a different voice, so it's not going to be the same and it shouldn't be the same. So I kind of start from that and then I adjust. So like,
do a demo.
Oh my God. Thing is, I haven't recorded in like a month anyway, but like one character will talk like this, you know? And like that'll be like a typical boy voice and like he'll have a voice kind of like this and then I'll change it a little bit and make it a little bit raspier and that'll be another guy's voice, you know? And I just kind of like, okay, let's take this voice and make it a bit airier or a bit like raspier.
That's cool.
And a girl's voice. So for the girls' voices, what I started with was I have these home videos of myself when I was a kid, and so when we discovered, like at my house with my parents, and I discovered that we had these videos, like they thought it was so cute. And so, in the video, they say, it was my birthday, and they say, Elissa, how old are you? And I say, I'm 4, or something like that. And so I kept like mimicking my own voice, and my parents kept getting me to repeat it. And then so, like a little girl's voice will talk kind of like this, but it depends on the girl. And then some of them have a lisp. So like the one that you saw me do,
she talks like this, and it's like you take your tongue and you make it like really in the way, and you make it kind of nasally, and Candy has a lot of personality, so I just
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I just do these like little variations, and then I take another one who's slightly more girly,
and so she'll have kind of like a clearer voice that's like just kind of airy but kind of girly and just very sweet.
So it depends, I take the character and I take what the Italian girl, I'm getting like excited. I'm like, I'm into it. I take what the Italian girl did and just, make some adjustments from there. And so, yeah. And, sometimes I do some silly accents. So it's fun.
Okay, that's ridiculous. That's so cool. And you like were able to actually within a sentence or two like switch between 3 different characters there. That was
yeah.
That's cool to hear.
Well, I'm glad it translates that way to you, because when I hear myself, I mean, I know it's me. So, when you listen to another person, then you think like, oh my God, the voices sound so different. But to me, I still hear myself. So, I mean, hopefully you're not just saying that to flatter me in front of viewers to...
No, but what it is, I recently watched something about acting, and it's about not overacting, but not underacting. For a lot of famous actors, they now have what they do for acting, and some of the actors, and I suck at remembering names, but either way, some actors, they built their whole career off of not overacting and just subtly being like kind of stoic, and that's their persona, and that's what they're known for in acting. And for you, I hear something different because each one is so subtle. As you mentioned, the one with the lisp, that one's fairly obvious and it's cute, it's funny. And then there's the other one with the you being a little girl. That's one. And then you said, and I found this super cool, like you kept on describing what you were going to do, and then you did it, and it sounded exactly like that. So like with the clear voice, you're like, well, this one's going to be a clearer voice. And then it sounded clearer. And I'm like, what do you mean clearer? And then you did it. I'm like, whoa. So it's these subtleties that, yes, it's your voice, but it went from like one with I guess one of the last ones was a lisp, but there was the lisp one, there was the clear one, there was the guy, and then there's the more raspy guy, and suddenly we're at 5 different voices.
Yeah.
And they're all subtly different.
And then there's the gothic girl, and like, oh, there's so many. There's so many. Yeah. And so, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm amazing, because like I don't like I could, I could use a lot of work, but it's fun. It's fun to be able to do stuff like that. And I think part of it is to do with the fact that I like singing. So because I've been, singing just at home, I guess, untrained. Now I'm taking singing lessons, but before, since I was like 14, I've played with this idea of playing and manipulating my voice for such a long time, trying to get a good sound, because I'm not one of those people that just sings well just like that. Like I have to work, like spend so much time experimenting to try to get different sounds. So what you do, and that helps with languages as well, and this all connects. That's how I was able to remove my English pronunciation when I speak in Italian, because I'm so used to manipulating my voice, and like, I mean, it's common language in the singing world, but they'll tell you to put your voice in the mask, you have to put it here. And so, when you go in your chest voice, the deeper part, it's more mouthy, it's more here. And then when you go in your head voice, the vibrations move up, and you can move your voice forward and move it back and move your tongue in a specific way to change things. And so I got so used to doing that it just became like, it's just natural. It's not, it's something that obviously is natural, like, but something that I've worked on for fun. And also, I've spent so much time imitating my mom's accent. She's gonna kill me if she sees this, but I just can't stop. So whenever
we need to hear this,
whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, and she's gonna kill me, and I'm I'm talking about my mom for some reason, I'll just insert her voice in there, and then she'll be like, Elissa, what you're doing? And I'll just like exaggerate. So a couple things about her voice, and I think Lebanese people in general, is they tend to talk more in their head voice. And I exaggerate the R's. She doesn't really roll her R's that much, but I just like to make it sound funny. And I just can't stop. It's so addictive. Like, For example, one of my mom's greatest quotes is, she's gonna kill me. Elissa, you have to go and become the Prime Minister of Canada because this Justin Trudeau thing is not sitting well with my stomach. This wasn't now. This is like 5 years ago or whatever. When oh my god, it was so funny. And so it's become a thing, and it's these voices get addictive, and like I can't stop doing them. So yeah.
So I used to do voices when I was younger. I think everyone did. Or like you play games with your friends and this and that, and then it becomes uncool. And then you get to adulting. And then suddenly when you are you, it becomes cool again and literally something that you can make money at. It's like, wait, what? It went from childish to like, this is unacceptable, then to this is 100% an acceptable career. To talk like kids.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that when you're a kid, you're using your imagination and everything's magical and everything's like, there's so much wonder and so much, but then you reach a certain point where you're like, well, I'm not a kid anymore. I better start acting mature. And then you start acting mature in quotes. And then doing childish things becomes uncool. And then you reach a point where you're like 19 and you're like, oh my God, I'm like I'm like gonna be an adult. Like, this is weird. Like, I'm leaving my teens. Oh my gosh. Like, I was in this, when I was 19, I watched Toy Story 3 for the first time. I don't know why it took me so long to watch it, but I bawled my eyes out because I was like, oh my God, he's leaving his toys behind. He's taking his childhood and I was just like, oh, and it killed me, And then you get to a point where you're like, well, no, why should I let this childlike part of myself leave? There's nothing wrong with being childlike. There's nothing wrong with being childish, but why lose that sense of like wonder and fascination and like endless possibilities? Is just, I feel like that's another topic, but I feel like that's a really important thing to kind of keep in yourself, because then you just become like one of those bitter adults that just like hate everything and are boring.
Yes.
So.
There was a video that you put out, and I think I watched through the entire thing. This is when you were back in Ottawa.
You think?
I think, because I went through the whole thing. No, I totally did. I think it was 18 minutes long. Oh, the reason I said I think is because I did speed it up to 1.5 times at about halfway through.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm offended. How dare you?
I've sped up my own stuff by like 1.75 times. I'm like, okay, Ben, hurry up. Yeah. But either way, you went into that where you don't want to be that bitter person when you grow up. And right now you are growing up. So now's the time to act. I don't know if you mentioned that part, but like, I agree with that. I think that can resonate with a lot of different people, because I think a lot of people grow up, they get office jobs, and then they get a house. They do the stereotypical stuff where they become an adult.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on how you approach it and how you live your life,
No, it's totally fine.
So, like, who you are as a person.
Yeah, you can totally do that. And that's like, I mean, I'm somewhat envious of the people that just do that, and then they're all nice and happy and hunky-dory. But there's two streams after that. So you get a house, you have like a spouse.
I'm sorry, I can't get over hunky-dory. I don't know why. I can't hear that word without losing my shit.
It's all hunky-dory.
Sorry, continue. Oh, it's one of those words. Okay, go on. Sorry.
What was it? When I'm in the office, I go, what the blazes?
What?
I just come up with these random ones that I can say. And then it's a replacement for something more foul. And so I can say it.
No, it's fine. It works. It fits your personality.
It just confirms that I am me. And people are like, oh yeah, it's totally a Ben thing. Like, no one else even wants to say it. So, what I was going to say was, there's a couple and they have a house, they have cars, they have this, that, they have everything that the stereotypical white picket fence living. But at that point, you can go...
The so-called, like, the ideal.
Exactly. The ideal American dream. Back in America.
Mm-hmm. No, it's America.
America.
Right. God.
So you have the two streams. You have the white picket fence couple that is all happy. You can be happy going into your job every day. And it can be a soul-sucking job, but as long as you have your own thing that you really are striving to do, either you're improving yourself towards a career, or you're being creative on the side, or you have a hobby, or you are doing house renovations, or you're working in your car, or you're doing these things that you personally enjoy, I think that's important. And then there's the other side where if you aren't doing that, and if you aren't striving for something, and if you're just going into work every day, then you're coming home and watching TV, I feel as though inherently you'll be less happy because you don't have a hobby, or you don't have a thing that you're striving for. You're watching other people and you don't really feel like you have meaning. Does that make sense? Or is that just...
Yeah, it does. It does. And, I think that's something that's probably more specific to, because we're both obviously creative people. And so I think that's something that applies more to creative people, because for me, and actually I took a personality test because I was curious, and it put me in 95th percentile openness, which predicts creativity. So I'm more creative than, if you put me in a room with 100 people, I'm more creative than 95 of them, or 94, whatever. And so, it made me realize, like, wow, like, I am a creative person. Like, I can, like, why don't I spend more time doing creative things? And so I started saying, you know what, screw this. I'm taking singing lessons. I don't care. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, find time to do creative stuff every day. I'm going to try to draw at least a bit more frequently, and, think about acting stuff, and try to do more creative things every day, because that really, really makes me happy. Like, it makes me, like, I can't even explain the feeling I get when I'm acting, or when I'm singing, or when I'm drawing, or when I'm doing something creative, or writing, or whatever it may be. I feel like I'm freaking flying. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but I feel like I get this like tingly feeling in my chest. I just feel like, I can't even explain what I feel, but I just feel freaking amazing. So I think for people like us, it's even more important, because for someone like my boyfriend, like, he's not a creative person. So he prefers to do more, I call them passive, I call it passive relaxation. I have this theory of active and passive relaxation. So active relaxation to me is like doing a hobby that you love, like singing, it takes energy, acting takes energy, like all those things take a lot of energy. And then something more passive would be watching movies or watching TV, or reading. Reading is kind of a mix, but it's more like a cool down, as opposed to like something that,
it's ramping down rather than ramping up.
Exactly. And so I have different moods. Sometimes I need a passive relaxation thing, and sometimes I need an active relaxation or hobby thing. So I think, yeah, as I said, for people with hobbies, people who are creative, like, we need that to survive, or we will just perish. Like, I can't be in a situation where I can never be creative, because it sucks my soul out. And so that's why I'm trying to, I want to make more creative things happen in the near future if I can. Cue short film.
Hey,
we gotta do it.
We got to do it,
so.
I think is the thing. And all the cool kids say. I agree. I'm going to end up using this in the future, like passive and active, because I think for the longest time, for like the last 3 years, I was doing passive hobbies. I wasn't necessarily happy, and I wasn't actively creating stuff that I really wanted to create, just for the heck of it, with no real reason. If this gets 2 views, and one of those views is me and one of those views is you, I'll be fine with it, because I had fun actually doing it. And that's the whole point.
Well, we hope more people watch it, just saying, but
Yes. You're right. It might get 4 instead.
Well,
No. I'm sure it'll get a few more than that. But
I hope so.
Especially at first, I think it's down to consistency. Well, now I'm getting away from the passive and active, but you mentioned consistency, and I've been mentioning consistency in the last bit, maybe not right now on this podcast, but I've found that without consistency, everything can be delayed just a little bit more, just a little bit longer. And there are a few people online that are prolific. And are you aware of the definition of prolific?
I'm aware of it in context, but if you ask me to define it, then I'd probably have to think about it for a few
I'm going
seconds.
to literally right now define prolific.
It's one of those words where like you know what it means, but you don't. You know what it means, but you don't know the precise definition. You know?
Yes, because I was about to explain it, and then I'm like, wait, I just asked this question, and I can't actually tell you exactly.
I mean, to me, it sounds like well, whatever. Tell me what it is.
Okay, so present in large numbers or quantities, or plentiful, or like producing much fruit or foliage, or many offspring. Well, okay, maybe not the offspring.
Well, we're not rabbits.
Yes. Not on the rabbit side, but you can do that with art. And so there are people out there that they're prolific with their content creation. And what I've found, okay, you know Casey Neistat, right?
Yeah.
He would be prolific. He was able to, for a long time, pump out videos every single day. I'm not striving to do that because that is a special talent that I feel like every YouTuber...
Well, you need a team, first of all.
I don't know. Here's the thing.
You can't do it by yourself.
I don't know if he had a team. I think, well, I know for a fact he slept for like 5 or 6 hours a day. He would work all day, which was his vlogging. And if you have a regular job, it's nearly impossible to do daily vlogging because you can't vlog during other people's paying you work time. So then you're limited to a certain amount of time. Then you have to edit that. Then you have to pump it out. So it's like that takes a lot of hard work, and as much as it's just talking to a camera, it can't be that hard. Which a lot of people,
it takes a lot of energy. It really does.
I don't know how he was able to do that. So that's an example. I'm not aiming for that. What I'm aiming for is consistency, like one thing per week, because I have a regular job and I don't have an extra 8 hours of daytime. I have that taken away, which this is, I think, another podcast entirely, but I think right now it's the right thing for me. And then I get to squeeze all of the other time out. And aside from sleeping, I just try to consistently pump out content. Without that consistency, though, I don't put anything out. Because then there's, I don't know, there's always extra time. I'm like, oh, I can get to that eventually.
Yeah. But the thing is, you want to be careful too. I mean, it depends on the person. It depends on how industrious you are. So if you're someone who can work like over 12 hours a day and not care, then like it depends on the person, because I'm the type of person where like I need, so that again, back to the active and passive thing. Sometimes I need passive relaxation. Sometimes you need it, and sometimes you need to give yourself time to recharge essentially, but it really depends on your personality. Although I don't encourage sleeping 4 hours a day for anyone, because the amount of people that actually can properly function on 4 hours of sleep is really, really low. But, there's always a balance. So we need to try to be as consistent as possible. We shouldn't kill ourselves. We shouldn't make it painful. It still should be fun, but find a way to make it work. And it's a really tough balance to figure out.
Yeah. And I forget what they're called, but there is a small amount of people in the world, that can, as you mentioned, operate on, I think it's 4 or 5 hours sleep. And that's actually properly. And I'm envious of them, but I'm not one to get the 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Sometimes I do, and I regret it. I know that I need my 8 hours of sleep, and I set my alarms to get 8 hours of sleep to make sure I do. But yeah, some people are wired that way. I think my dad actually is wired that way. After 5 or 6 hours, he's up. He can't go back to sleep.
Well, the older you get, the less sleep you need. That's the other thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Because think about it, like newborns need freaking, I don't know, they're like kittens. They need like freaking 15 hours of sleep a day or something. And so the older you get, then it becomes 12. And then when you're a teenager, it's supposed to be 10. When you're like 12, 13, 14. Yeah, I know it usually isn't. But, technically it's something like that anyway. And then the older you get, like we're at the point where it's like 7.5 to 9.5 hours or something like that. And the older you get, the less you need. Like old people don't sleep that much. They really don't. I mean, part of that is because of pain and stuff. And, it's not easy to be an old person. But part of it is just, they just need a little bit less sleep. And so, yeah. But so that's part of it.
Okay. Wait, so we were going somewhere. We went, so passive, active, habits. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Recharging.
Recharging, this, that. Oh,
Consistency.
so do you mind if I ask you about your recharging and your health?
Oh man. That's such a long. How much time do we have? Because that's a long story.
How long have we been going for? We've been going for 30. Oh my God. We've been going for 37 minutes already. What?
I told you I'm a talker. You don't need to prepare questions. Like, I swear it'll just, okay, let me try to make this brief. I actually need to make a video about this just because I feel like, just being aware of it could actually help. It's one of those things where being aware can help because then you can ask your doctor. It's not one of those things where let's do awareness because awareness. It's not awareness because of awareness. It's awareness because then you at least have a name and it can call it something. So for all you people out there, there's this really, really annoying chronic illness. So I have a chronic illness and I didn't know about it for like 7 years. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was called. I just knew that like something felt off and I was had this feeling that something was like kind of weird. And then I ended up being right.
So wait, 7 years ago, what was happening that was causing this?
How did it start?
Yeah. So when it started, what was it? Actually, what's the name first, I guess?
Okay, so it's called, so it's a sub-form of dysautonomia, okay, which is a problem with the autonomic nervous system, okay? So the part of your brain, you know, the fight or flight, anxiety, the part of your brain that deals with everything with blood pressure, heart rates, breathing, circulation, temperature control, sweating, all that stuff, all those automatic things, okay? So it's that part of the brain. And so the subform that I have is called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Oh, that rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, totally. It does for me because I'm so used to saying it. It's so the short form is POTS, which is kind of funny. So POTS. So yeah, so I'm a POTSy, and so basically, it's one of those things that is often misdiagnosed as anxiety because it has so many symptoms that you can hardly even locate it. It's like you can see that my heart is beating too fast, but there's nothing actually wrong with my heart. It's my brain that's sending the wrong signals to my body. That's the issue. And so it's very commonly misdiagnosed. And
have you tried duct tape?
And it was sorry?
Have you tried duct tape?
I mean, you know what? That could actually, if I duct taped my legs and made everything like duct taped around my legs and my feet and made it tighter, that would aid in the constricting of my blood vessels, which would allow the blood to more easily go back up to my brain and to my heart. So technically you could maybe make that work because people wear compression stockings.
I was about to say, that sounds exactly like compression stockings.
Exactly. So we found a way to make duct tape work. That's pretty funny. So anyway, back to how it started, I guess. The first time I think I was 17, in Cégep. I was in gym class or it was canoe camping or something, whatever. We had to go to the gym at the beginning of this course. And so,
for people that don't know, that's Cégep is in Quebec additional school. Well, it's a replacement for grade 12, 13.
Okay. So it's pre-university, or you could take career courses. So we skip our last year of high school and we skip our first year of university. And we have this 2-year in between thing that's harder than high school, a little bit easier than university, but your teachers still care about your existence and want you to succeed, which is really nice. Actually, it was the best experience ever. I loved Cégep, but anyway.
Okay, sorry, go on.
So I was on the elliptical, and I was going for 5 minutes or something, and I didn't feel that weird, but you have your hand on the metal things, and it measures your heart rate, and it says it, and so the machine said, please slow down to reduce heart rate. And I was like, that's weird. Okay. And I was trying to keep going, and it like the machine locked or something. I think the machine locked. I think it physically wouldn't let me go on, or it kept annoying me anyway with this message. I was like, can you stop? So I asked the gym teacher, I'm like, hey, the machine keeps telling me to stop. And he's like, oh, well, what's your heart rate? And I was like, 210. And he's like, like, you should be having a heart attack. I was like, oh, thank you for this information. This is great. And then I ended up going to the nurse, and 20 minutes later was still at 160 beats per minute. And it was weird. I did a series of tests for my heart, which they didn't find anything because there isn't anything physically wrong with my heart.
There was hardly a problem.
Oh my goodness gracious. Holy, okay. Yeah, sure. And so that was the first time I noticed something. And then I started getting like other weird symptoms. And so it just progressively got worse. I didn't, it didn't get in the way of my life before that much. Like exercising something felt strange about exercising. Like I felt like it shouldn't be that difficult.
I think everyone says that.
No. It made me feel like sick. Like It made me like, I would exercise and my heart, I'd feel like it made me feel worse,
For sure.
And it was strange. So, and that's the thing, because everyone says like, oh, I hate exercise. It's so annoying. And I was like, okay, so this is normal, right? But I think my experience of it is a little bit worse. At the time, it wasn't as bad as it is now because it's gotten worse over the years. But anyway,
yeah, that's why I was joking about it, because everyone's like, oh, exercise is horrible. You're like, no, actually, though.
Actually, it's freaking. So actually, I really like exercise. I do, but when I can, when my body can handle it. And so, yeah. And
so that was the first experience. And then I guess maybe cut to now, and like, what have you discovered? Like, you already explained what it was, but.
Yeah. So do you want to know how I got diagnosed?
Yes, that would be good. Because how on earth do you diagnose that?
Yeah. Well, I was in Australia. This is when I lived in Australia. And so I started getting what felt like panic attacks, but it was weird because it's not like there was no reasonable psychological source that I could, as far as I could tell, or at least not much of one. Like, did I have a little bit of anxiety? Yeah, I did. I've had anxiety before, but it just, something felt off about it. And so I kept having these strange panic attacks. And can you tell me, did you hear my voice crack?
Maybe not.
Because my body's getting like worked up, and it's like I can't feel my fingers. So this is what happens when you have POTS.
You'll figure it out.
Because I'm okay. So anyway, I kept having these panic attacks, and so I went to see a psychologist because I was like, this is too much. It was like 3 times a week, and it was like it would last like an hour and a half, and I'd just be hyperventilating and just like my boyfriend would be like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I couldn't even respond. Like, it was so extreme, it was crazy. And so
that's frightening.
Yeah, it was. I felt like I was dying. And so I went to see a psychologist, and when she measured my anxiety and because they give you a questionnaire where they measure anxiety, stress, and depression, or at least she did for me. And so my depression was like low, like that's not my weakness. I didn't have any problems with that. It was like my stress and anxiety was like almost at the max. It was like really, really high. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so, and I think I did also have anxiety at the same time. Let me repeat that, and stress. So it was part of it, but it wasn't that much on its own, And so whatever, I did sessions with her for a while, and then it started getting worse. And then she would ask me, like, walk me through what you're thinking when you're having these panic attacks. And so I told her what my thought process was, and I used the techniques that she told me and stuff. And it wasn't like, it did alleviate the psychological part, because when you feel weird, you get nervous. So it alleviated that, but the physical part didn't go away. And she's like, well, that's weird. That doesn't sound like you don't follow the thought process of an anxious person. You follow the thought process of a healthy person. So like, that's really weird. And then whatever. I think it was the next day I woke up in the middle of the night with one of those weird attacks, but it woke me up. So in the millisecond that I woke up, my brain was already thinking, oh my God, I'm dying. My arm was numb. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't move it for like a minute or something. And my heart was pounding so hard. And it's like, there's this video on YouTube of this guy, he almost died because he got shot. And he was talking about his thought process about how there was like his own voice inside his head screaming at him because he got shot and he was on the ground, and the voice in his head was screaming at him to get up and fight for his life. I swear to God, my inner voice, it makes me sound crazy, but I don't care. My inner voice was screaming at me to fight for my life. You are going to die if you don't do something. Like, it was the most intense thing ever. And so, okay, I was like, well, okay, I'm having a panic attack. Let's get up and take a breath and whatever. So I called the, it didn't go away anyway.
Because that is fight or flight, right there.
Yeah, but to the effing max. There's, it's the maximum basically. So I called it was in the middle of the night, it was like 3 a.m. So I don't think we have it in Canada, but in Australia, they have this, you can call doctors that they'll come to your house, even if it's in the middle of the night. So it's like not serious enough to go to the hospital, but you can't wait till the morning to see your doctor. It's kind of like an in-between thing.
Huh.
And so I called them because I'm like, I'm not going to call an ambulance. What if it's a panic attack? I just need to call just in case something was wrong. And so I called them and they're like, it sounds like you're having a stroke, so we suggest that you call the ambulance. I was like, great, I'm 24 and I'm having a stroke. Or 23 or whatever it was at the time.
That's not a stroke of luck.
How many puns are you going to put in one freaking podcast? Okay.
I'm going to try to max it out.
You should just call it a pun cast at this point.
That's a good one.
It's good. Well, you can go ahead and use it. So whatever, I was in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't figure out what it was. Eventually I noticed that, okay, when I stand, I feel worse, but when I lie down, I feel a bit better. And then whatever, the specialist at the hospital, called me days later and said, okay, look, there's one thing that the chances of you having it are so slim. Like, it's really, really rare, but the only thing that you could possibly have in this world is something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And
say it 3 times fast.
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Okay.
And so, and then I saw a specialist, and then he measured my heart rate when I was lying down, which was like 55, 60, like a normal healthy heart rate. And then I would stand up and I'd go, boom, 150, 160 just from standing. And he's like, yeah, you're like a typical POTS patient. You have POTS. And I was like,
you couldn't stand it.
I couldn't stand it. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. I couldn't stand it. Anyone who hates puns is like clicking off now.
So you're a typical POTS patient.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so that's a thing. So how are you dealing with it now?
It's really hard because there isn't really that much research on it, and it's a pretty new. The term was coined in like 1993, so it's not even that old.
That's as old as we are, basically.
Yeah, a little bit older, but it's not old if you consider like how long we've known about cancer. You know what I mean? Or other things. Like it's kind of new and not really known that much. I mean, it's not rare, the occurrence. It's rare. It's rarely diagnosed because everyone thinks it's anxiety because it looks like severe anxiety. And it just, the thing is, I was so damn curious, and I don't want to make people paranoid and think because they have anxiety they might have this. Obviously, if you feel like something's off, like look into it. But I don't know. I was so curious, and I like understanding how the human body works and all that stuff. And so I was like really going into it, and I just, why would I be numb? Like if I touch myself right now, I can feel like 50% of it. Like I can't even feel like it's like, it depends when, but like I have freaking loss of sensation. And like, yes, is that an anxiety thing? But would I be feeling that even when I'm not? It's weird. Like there are a lot of weird things that you would have to, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. And so, so that's how I was diagnosed. And now how am I dealing with it? I mean, again, it's mysterious. So I don't even know what to do. I mean, you're supposed to drink more water to increase your blood. Cause I also have orthostatic hypotension, which means when I stand, my blood pressure drops a bit.
Is that not normal? Like most people, it does drop just slightly, but yours is like elevated.
It drops a little bit more. And I guess the combination of things makes it worse. But how am I dealing with it?
Water.
The thing is, okay, so you're supposed to drink water to increase your blood pressure. You're supposed to have salt to increase, like have more salt, more electrolytes. Because I think it's because my body either doesn't absorb them or like doesn't absorb them efficiently or overuses them. I think it overuses them because my brain and my body's like constantly on hyperdrive. Something like that. Shut up. It's not my fault. I'm enthusiastic. Well, that's the thing. I'm a happy person. I'm an enthusiastic person. So it shows even more. You know what I mean? It like shows through a lot. But see, I'm losing my train of thought. That's one of the things. Brain fog. Now I'm getting brain fog. You see how it freaking is annoying?
I feel like that's me all the time. So the brain fog. But yeah.
Anyway, so, and you're supposed to exercise. Exercise is supposed to help. So it's like, okay, so I got a gym membership because it basically went into remission for like 6 months or something. Like I was feeling great. I mean, it was hot in the summer, so the heat affects me and I could feel my blood pressure was a bit low. But other than that, I was feeling freaking fine and dandy, okay?
Fine and dandy. Yay.
And then I got a gym membership and I started exercising and they gave me, workout schedule that it ended up taking me like an hour and a half to finish. And so at the beginning it was really hard, but then it got easier and easier and I felt good and I loved working out, like lifting weight, like it just felt so good. Like I felt like something that worked for my body. And then I guess I overdid it because now I'm freaking back to square one. It just it was like a month ago or something. It just hit me where I could not stand without feeling absolutely terrible. And I'm lucky because a lot of people with POTS faint when they stand. A lot of the time they faint. And so I'm lucky that I don't have that issue. Like I feel like I'm going to faint or almost faint, I suppose, but I don't faint, which is great because that's when it becomes dangerous. Because you hit your head on stuff.
So you're saying that when you have POTS, it's not for the faint of heart.
You're not the first one to, those memes are in the POTS Facebook group, so you're not clever.
Excellent.
So that one didn't even faze me.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is now what I'm doing is, here's the thing. I'm trying to make myself, as I said before, more industrious, more conscientious, work, get myself to do stuff when I be more efficient, be productive, do stuff. And everyone's like, be productive, don't, but I can't do that because if I don't feel well and I push myself, after this podcast, I'm using my energy to the max. I'm gonna have to lie down for 2 hours after.
Sorry.
To recharge. No, it's okay. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's just that it takes so much energy to do anything. So when I have singing lessons, I have to lie down for at least an hour before to make sure that when I can use up all my energy, and then after I'm gonna have to lie down for another couple of hours to recharge. And so what I'm having to do is just be like, look, is it good to be productive? Yes, but I can't, when I'm not feeling well, I can't be like everyone else. I just can't. So I have to let my body rest because pushing through it doesn't work for me. It makes it worse. So if I push myself way too hard, I will, and that's what happened. I went to the gym, I exercised, and it got to a point where I was just lying down for a whole week, 2 weeks. I could hardly get up. I would get up just to go to the bathroom and eat, and that's it. I didn't even go for walks. I stayed inside all day long, and so I can't. I have to be very careful, and I'm still figuring it out because, as I said, there's no cure for it at the moment. It goes into remission, and then it comes back, and then sometimes it goes away and then you get pregnant and then it comes back because of the hormones. So I'm thinking, okay, does it have something to do with hormones? Because in teenagers, it usually happens around age 16, 17 or something. Usually when you're a teenager, I'm well, that's when your hormones are going crazy, puberty and all that stuff. Does it have something to do with that? I have no freaking clue. And so it's tough because I don't, I want to do something about it, but I don't know what to do. And so yeah. So to answer your question, I'm dealing with it by just doing a lot of passive relaxation because, it's similar. So people with autism, they have this thing where they get like hypersensitivity. So sometimes sounds are too much for them and lights too much for them. So for me, sometimes it's with sounds and things like that. So when I am in the car lately and when go to the grocery store, because it doesn't sound like a big deal, but because I have to make 500 little decisions about, okay, which brand, what do I need? You're walking around, there are bright lights, there are a lot of people talking, a lot of people moving around. Seems like a normal situation, but for me, when I'm not feeling well, my body goes on overdrive and it's in movies when you're like this and they don't even notice you're there. That's me.
I have heard of something similar, and it's actually to do with people who travel a lot, or, well, I'll just say the word first, or the phrase, decision fatigue.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A thing.
That's it.
And
that's what it's called.
Yeah. So for you, it's overstimuli. I've actually, because now I'm aware of it, because of podcasts and videos that I've watched, people who travel a lot and people who own their own business and YouTube and all of this, and or have POTS. Now I'm learning. Decision fatigue is a very real thing, and people can be making too many decisions. So there's always the other side of the internet or other people that are trying to figure out how to reduce the amount of decisions that they need to make per day. And usually this is like ultra productive people. But in your case, because you want to be productive, but you're like biologically not able to be productive on during certain times, and other times you're like, yeah, I'm going to be doing this and this, and I really enjoy this, but then I have to sleep. So for you, it almost sounds like you could like try to reduce as many decisions that you need to make as possible.
Yeah, I guess, but that's only one small sliver of it. The problem is there are a million, like if I had to list all of my symptoms, like, and it depends when, like it just, and the interesting thing is like now I look incredibly energetic. Like you would never know that there was something wrong or whatever with my body. Like you wouldn't know because I'm using my energy now, but in freaking half an hour or whatever, whenever we finish, like that's the thing. It depends on the time of day. So when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh my God, I can't get up. Like I'm not going to be able to do it. And then sometimes you find energy and then in an hour I'll have no energy. And then an hour later I'll have a lot of energy for like 10 minutes and then it'll go away. Like it's really weird. Or sometimes you have days where you're weak, you don't get energy for 3 days. Like, and when I say energy, I mean the energy to stand up and like make tea or go to the bathroom. Like standing up takes so much energy for me, depending on how my body is. So it's really complicated. And so I guess the point is I want people to know that this thing exists so that if they've been going through something that sounds eerily similar, and the problem is it's not that easy because not every doctor has even heard of POTS, or if they have, they've done like one lecture on it one day in medical school and never talked about it again because, so
It's so rare that it never pops up.
yeah, sort of. And so, rarely diagnosed. So yeah, if you, whoever person watching this, if you suspect that you have, if it sounds strangely familiar, find a doctor who really cares basically and is willing to like do some research and lead you to the right way because, some people do find relief with like medication and stuff. And that's another thing. I'm sensitive to medication. Whenever I take antibiotics, I get every freaking side effect. And like I have sensitive skin that's like I'm like allergic to a bunch of stuff. So I have to use stuff that like my products, it's like there's a list this long of all the stuff it doesn't have in it.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Like all the so things like that. It's annoying, Like look, I'm still a really happy person. Like I still love life. This thing is highly inconvenient and it's a pain in the ass. But what am I going to do? Like all I can do is just, make the best of it. And I'm doing that by, as I said, because creative stuff is so important to me, trying to do something, at least one creative thing per day, whether it's working on singing or, trying to make that short film happen. I'm just saying we got to do it. But
this is the first step.
Things like that. This is the first step of our collaboration. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, now I know a lot more than I did before. I guess it wasn't a podcast format, so I didn't really ask about that. It was more like typing back and forth. I'm like, I still don't necessarily know what you have, but this was actually really interesting to hear because now I have like the whole story from the first treadmill incident and it being like 220 or something like that BPI. BPI. Wait, BPM. What's BPI?
You're thinking of BMI.
Yeah, I was.
You mixed BMI and BPM.
Yeah, there was also DPI, which is like dots per inch for like graphic design.
God.
So I'm like, oh no. I went into
the funny
media.
part is that was the short story.
Oh boy.
So that was me making it brief, But we can't talk for 5 hours. So I mean, we can, but no one's gonna listen.
It's true. Okay, so the good news is we are at 1 hour and 2 minutes ish. Mm-hmm. So that means we talked about things and other things. Wait, I have to go soon, but we didn't figure out how we met. We said briefly we said elementary school.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I mean, we were probably, my memory does not go back that far until someone sparks it. But like, I think we were in classes.
I just remember like, when you remember people in your class from elementary school and you just have this like abstract image of them. It's just like Benjamin. It's like, oh yeah, that Benjamin kid. But like, we weren't friends, really. I mean, for example, like some of our other friends. Do we give names on this podcast?
Yeah, sure. It'll be entertaining.
Okay, whatever.
When they
Like
hear
Brandon and David, for example. I remember them specifically being in my class and stuff. And so I guess you were in the same class, and Matt too. Matt also we were in elementary school together, and we used to like bond over being half Sicilian, and like pretend we could speak in Italian and just say like ciao when we were on the like at recess. Oh my gosh.
I might even remember you guys saying like the ciao bit.
Really? Come stai? Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, no, I don't know much. I mean, I think the weird thing is it would be kind of funny to do podcasts with everyone that I grew up with, but like in elementary school, that would be hilarious because everyone's different now. Everyone has had their life, and like David and Brandon are now married. and like straight up. And I haven't chit-chatted with them much in between then and now because I moved away. It could be kind of interesting because everyone would have different stories.
Yeah, what
obviously.
the heck happened to you, by the way? You just disappeared off the face of the planet. Like, you didn't go to, like, our high school, right? Like, we didn't go to the same junior high school and high school.
So here's a funny bit. There was no Facebook or anything like that. I think there was MySpace and whatever. So I didn't have much of a way to say bye to everyone that I knew. But I ended up vanishing because my dad got a job in London, Ontario. And we moved. And that was that. I was kind of distraught, actually, because it was like all my friends and everyone that I grew up with and made connections with was in junior high at that point in grade 7. So along with that, here's the funny story that was not very funny for me at that point. There's junior high in Quebec. I like it. I think it's awesome. And I really like the way the Quebec school system works. You go whatever under, I don't know if there's junior kindergarten or kindergarten, whatever, but you get to grade school and you're in elementary. Then you go to junior high, which is in the same building as like the high school students, but in a different wing. That's correct, right? I'm not delusional. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that was that specific school. I don't think they're all like that. I think it was just a coincidence, but possibly.
So normally junior high, is that in like still in elementary school, or is that?
I think it's its own thing. It's its own school.
Oh, okay. So
it depends. It depends. I think sometimes it's attached to elementary schools and sometimes it's attached to high schools.
Okay.
It depends. I think it's more a question of the building and how many students the building can handle, you know? I think it's more about that, possibly. But, you know, what do I know?
Okay, all right. I mean, you are a Quebecois, so...
What do you like? I hardly speak French, and I'm actually trying to get back into it. But
so I was in grade 7 in junior high at whatever school we were at for like 4 months, maybe 5, maybe 3, either way, around there. Then I come to Ontario, and this was the worst thing ever because I then went back to elementary school straight up.
What do you mean?
For 2 years, I was in elementary school, which is still like grade 7 and 8. And so there's kindergarteners in your same school. And like the hallways are super small and like there's no lockers. So my parents on the first day, we get there. And again, it's 4 months into like the school year. And they drop me off. And I have my binders, I have my lock, I have all my stuff. And I go into the office and my parents drive away and go to work because it's junior high, whatever. They're just used to like me taking the bus, not even like being driven. So I basically think that people in Ontario are coddled too long because I get into the front office. I'm like, hey, can I get my schedule? I'm new here. Can I get my schedule and my locker number? I have a few things to put there. And they're like, where are your parents? Like, what? You can't just be dropped off. I'm like, well, they're at work. Like, they dropped me off. What do you mean? And they're like, well, we have to call them. I'm like, they don't have phones. Like, why? I just want my locker number and schedule. Like, it's not that hard. Like, what are you looking for?
Because to them, you're like you're a child. Like,
Exactly.
You shouldn't be alone. It's like, I'm at school. Like, I'm supposed to be safe here.
Exactly. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are you on about? And they're like, okay, well, we'll get you to your teacher and get you your cubby. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
No locker. I had all my stuff just that you have like a hanger thing in your classroom.
Oh, I
and
hated
it's-
those stupid
I
hook things.
know.
They're so pointless.
So yeah, welcome to the next 2 years of my life. And it was that. And I was fairly rebellious because you needed to ask to go to the washroom. And I'm like, I'm getting up and going. Otherwise, I'm going to pee in the corner of the
No, you
classroom.
always had to do that.
Really? Even in junior high?
Yeah, even in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. That's that. Unfortunately.
Okay,
But yeah, no,
because
that's the thing. Unfortunately,
I had that assumption and I would just get up and leave. So I had a lot of calls to my parents. He's like, he's kind of being a little bit rebellious. He has to ask. I'm like, no. Like, what do you want me to do? Just not like go or go right now? Like, or right at my
Yeah.
desk. Yeah. So there's that. Or in the hallways, we couldn't be in them because we had to go out for recess and for like lunch, you had to go outside.
Oh, I hated that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So again,
especially in
back
the
to that.
friggin' winter.
Yeah, exactly. So I would come in and they're like, well, have you asked to come in? Do you have a hall pass? I'm like, no, I need to go. And so I then figured out a way of staying inside during the winter. I joined mop crew and we would like lock the doors and like bring out the mats and have fun inside while like we had,
my
I think, 3 other people and we would just hang out in the gym.
You know, I did the exact same thing in grade 6. I joined like a bunch of clubs, and then I just go and hide in the bathroom and stuff. Because I couldn't stand the cold. I found it so painful. And like when you're in grade 6, like you don't run around as much. Like you start running around a little bit less. Like I just, and so you don't keep warm as much. So yeah, I feel you. Although your situation was much worse with those stupid hooks.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so yeah, that's what happened to me in grade 7, which was like, was that 2000? I think that was 2006.
2007.
2007?
2006 to 2007, I think.
Yeah, something around there. But yeah, it sucks because there wasn't like Facebook, and only recently have I really like reconnected with people from Aylmer. It just kind of faltered off until the Instagrams and Facebooks. Actually, no, not even
Stop making it
Instagrams.
plural.
It's the Instagrams with a Z.
Oh my gosh, you're making yourself like 55 years old.
That's exactly why I say it that way.
Oh, that's my dad's voice. My dad's gonna kill me. So I made an account on the Facebook, and so painful. Okay, so
That's exactly why I say it that way, because it's just hilarious. It's the Snapchats
Unbelievable.
and the Instagrams and the
interwebs.
TikToks. Are you on
interwebs.
TikTok at all?
I have an account. Sorry, like I follow it usually for singing stuff, because a lot of people post short videos of them singing. I haven't posted anything on it, but
Yeah. It's apparently very cringe or very musically inclined, because it used to be musically.
yeah,
Anyway.
it depends what because you have your homepage, and so the stuff that I follow is the non-cringy stuff. So the stuff that I get on my feed is like fine. It's usually people singing and they have really nice voices, and so if you're like a 13-year-old who follows cringy stuff, I guess, then yeah, the feed's gonna be cringy. But it just depends on who you follow. And I follow some art accounts too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Shoot, what was I gonna say? Up. Nope. It's gone. I don't know what I just
Oh my
realized.
god, that was a pretty big fail.
I got distracted by the clap because I was about to say the thing, and then I'm like, oh, I have to
What?
clap.
That we didn't get to some of your questions or anything or something.
No, shoot! I totally it was another topic, and it's gone.
Aw, now I'm sad.
Yeah, this happens way too much.
We didn't really cover like how I got to Australia and Italy, but then we're gonna talk too much about me. We've already done too much about me. So,
True.
which I
But,
knew
I
was
mean-
gonna happen because you had a lot of questions and my story is freaking long.
Yeah.
But yeah. So do you have another question, or can I just ask you?
You can ask me at any point, but I mean, I have like maybe half an hour at this point.
Half an hour left.
Yes.
Oh, we still have time.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be, you know what? It's not even cutting it that close. I leave in half an hour anyway, and I'm already all ready. So
Okay.
good to go. So
Sarcasm. I just noticed your shirt.
Yeah. Sarcasm.
Just one of my many talents. Really? Okay. Those are your talents?
Yes.
Okay, so my question for you is okay, so you went to this awful junior high school, and then in high school you, I guess, stayed in London, and then when did you move back? Or where did you go from there? So in terms of your videographer stuff and like all your creative stuff and your jobs and what is your life and how did you get there since junior high?
I'll keep it brief as well, maybe. It'll be your brief, so like 4 hours long. So I moved to London for 2 years. I was kind of like, I was not very happy because I wasn't able to make any like deep connections and everyone else had their own friends. Then I went to high school and that was a bit better. Not the greatest still, but it was a bit better. Then I went off to, I'm jumping through this really quick. Then I went to, wait. So in the last 2 years of high school, that's when things kind of became more what they are now, which is I decided I didn't want to do programming like code stuff because some of my friends were into code and doing all of that. It's because it was either this or that. It was writing the code to make the programs that other people would use to be creative, or use the programs that other people wrote so I could be creative. So that would be like using Photoshop and stuff instead of writing Photoshop and making the program. And I wanted to do the more creative side of things. So that's when I decided, which was around grade 11. So then I started getting into video. And then in grade 12, I had a video camera that at the time was like, oh my God, I just spent $2,000 on a video camera and a microphone. Funny thing, the microphone, not this one, but the microphone that's on my camera is from like 2011 or something. Like it's a shotgun mic and they don't break. They're just fine. Anyway, I made a documentary on a Paralympic swimmer, which was super cool. This is the one that got all the views at the time. And I think the reason I didn't explode at that point is I wasn't consistent. I just stopped. I was like, oh, that was cool. And then I didn't really pursue it anymore. And then the next thing that came up was I got a documentary opportunity. I went to Africa and I straight up just...
What the F? Oh, yeah. I just casually went to Africa. No big deal. Like, what? But how did you even get the skills to do the first documentary in the first place? Were you just like experimenting? Did you take courses? Like, you were still in high school, you said.
My whole career, including my current job and everything that I've done and like my demo reel and web development was school related, but everything else that's camera related and like video related, self-taught, just all YouTube. I know that's now so there's cool. Like Skillshare and stuff like that, but everything was YouTube.
But at the time,
all YouTube, and I just kept on learning.
Just and talented. What can I say?
Just
anyway, continue.
Yeah, so it was really down to YouTube. And I just, everything I didn't know, I learned more on. And then I would search things up. And it's taken like 10 years for me to go through and learn this stuff. I guess 8 years, really. But anyway, 7 or 8 years of learning. And now I've gotten to this point, and it's all still based off of YouTube. Because how that happened was I had just finished my grade 12 exams. And then my friend, I guess, at the time was like, hey, he called me up the next morning. It was like 11 and I was sleeping in like a teenager. And he's like, hey, so I'm going to like Africa to do this documentary thing. And my grandmother does this missionary work and she wants me to document it. How do I go about doing that? So then I started going in. I'm like, okay, so you'll need some microphones. You'll need to figure out which camera you want to use. Also, if you want to shoot the whole thing there over the course of 30 days, you'll need enough memory. You'll probably want a computer there to be able to edit it as well. Then we'll need a battery source, depending on... And I went into all of this stuff, and I 30 minutes later, because he had a few more questions, and I was like, okay, you need to probably find someone who's there to be able to hold a microphone, like a boom pole and this and that. Or you can do this or that. And I was just going over all of this stuff that I had in my head, learned over the last year. And he's like, you know what? Here, I'm going to I'll call you back. Bye. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And I went back to sleep, I think, or like I just like was on my pillow. I'm like, ah. So he calls back like 5 minutes later. He's like, hey, do you want to just come to Africa? I'm like, huh.
Okay.
Okay, sure. When? And so he was like, probably 2 months from now. And yeah. So I went over to the kitchen. I remember this. I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go to Africa.
How old are you?
And they're like, this was grade 12. That puts everyone at like 18, I think. Wait, no,
17
I think it was
18.
17. Yeah, I think it was 17. And so that was a 17-year-old Benjamin.
17-old.
17-old brain seizure thing, stroke. I too have strokes very often.
Yeah. Well,
Just small ones where my brain's just like
shut down.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, so that was that because they were like, oh, okay. When? my parents are very chill that way.
Oh my
I
God.
think they were somewhat worried. They're like, okay, you need to make sure you have all your shots and stuff.
Yeah.
Aside from that, just make sure you don't die.
I'm glad you didn't, because, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did that. The actual experience there, that'll be for another video entirely. Here's the cool thing, and this is what I mean by I didn't consistently put out stuff because I didn't care enough. I vlogged every single day and it's pretty badass. Like for every single day in Africa, I have a vlog that I haven't put out. It's mostly edited.
My God.
And it's all there. I'm quite
What the hell's
excited to
wrong
put
with
it out.
you?
I don't know.
It's already
it could have
edited?
actually. It's mostly edited, yes. I have like the last 10 days to edit still, I
Okay.
think. But the 20 days is edited. And like these are like 10-minute vlogs-ish, which is perfect for current YouTube monetization. Yay.
Yeah.
No, not that I'll even get there anytime soon. But
Oh, your
yeah,
channel's not
like-
monetized.
no. I haven't reached that yet.
Okay.
Nor does it really matter because I'm not getting that many views because of consistency. I need to be more
Yeah.
consistent, which I guess it started way back then. I just didn't care enough. It's the opposite of what people feel on social media right now. You know how people are like, yeah, I really care about what other people think about me. So yeah, consistency has been an issue for like since 2012. And only now in almost 2020 am I finally getting back on and being like, okay, I'm going to regularly produce content. Even this week, I had weekends for the last 2 weekends that were very busy, and I ended up filming and editing a video that isn't the best, but I wanted to make sure that I like put out a video on Wednesday. So I did a talking head video. That was me like talking a lot. Okay. I'm going to derail my own story because I want to know your opinion on this. So I put my videos out on Reddit to get some exposure and to get feedback from them. And most of the time, it's actually really good. Sometimes there's really good like critical feedback that they critique. They're like, well, maybe this, that. One complaint that's known is I talk a lot with my hands. I'm not right now because I know that it kind
The
of...
microphone's kind of in the way.
Yeah, but when I don't have that in the way, I talk with my hands nonstop. And apparently it's a Quebec thing. I've just been informed like in the last week or so. Yeah, apparently Quebecers talk with their hands a lot. So anyway, I don't know if that's a thing, but people online don't necessarily like that because I talk so much with my hands. So there's that. But then I put up this video that just this Wednesday, so like 2 days ago, and it was fairly negatively received by Reddit because they're like, oh, did you like, is this what or how do they put it? They said, clearly it resonated with me because I can't even remember what they said. They were like, is this what passes for content now? And I was like,
that's harsh.
ouch, that hurts. Yeah. And so then I like, this was right before I left work. I had read that. So I'm like, okay, I'll just, I'll go grocery shopping. I'll do this. I'll come back. And I was thinking on it. I'm like, okay, so actually what this means is that I should make sure I produce what I've previously produced. No one's ever really said that before with my other videos. Like I have certain videos. I have the podcasts that I want to do, which allows for more free flow conversation and can be long, and it doesn't matter. And I don't care if anyone listens to it because this is mostly for me, and people will listen to it once this gets going. Maybe. Yeah. We'll see. Then there's the videos that are kind of like short films or like tutorials, or like I did one on how I biked like 10,000 kilometers recently on my e-bike. That was fun because I could kind of do like little montages and then different camera angles. It was like a whole video that was like a typical YouTube video. Then the next one was me going over stats and comparing different things. And that's more talking head, and it's a bit more boring, and it's comparing stats. People don't necessarily like those ones as much. So really it's just by producing more content and regular content, I get to figure out what people want to see and what I like doing, and then figuring out a balance. But if I don't do these, and if I don't regularly post, even if I'm like, oh, I don't have content. Well, you have to have content. You have to post on that day. Then I won't have learned these different things. So that's what I took from that. So anyway,
wait, but you said you wanted to know my opinion on something.
Yes. So now that I covered all that, how do you handle critiques, or how do you handle feedback that's negative on, like negative comments on your videos? I'm sure there's been a few. Or no?
I mean, okay, so I don't really have that many subscribers to the point where I like regularly get hate comments. I mean, there's always someone that says, the video starts at 3 minutes. And I'm like, well, I have to set up the friggin' thing first. Like it depends on the video, you know, but you just set things up first sometimes. But whatever, that happened on one of my videos that had like 200,000 views. So obviously you're going to get like something negative. I mean, sometimes it's what's annoying is I had this video on two videos. So English words we need in Italian and Italian words we need in English. And that was 4 videos because I did them in 2 languages, but they were okay. And so some people said like, oh, actually we have this word in Italian. It's this. And then I confirmed with my boyfriend. He's like, no, it's not the same. And I'm like, okay, so you actually don't know anything. Like your opinion of that word is just because your level in English is not high enough for you to actually know that that is not the same thing. And also the whole point of the video is these are words that I like and I prefer in English or I prefer in Italian. So who are you to tell me what my opinion is / what words I prefer? Like it wasn't an objective video. It was like here's the words I like and I feel like they don't give the same feeling in the other language. Those are comments that have been annoying. But I mean, I'm just like, whatever. It's not, you know, those are annoying because they're misunderstanding me, but like, what are you going to do? And then the ones where they're just plain out mean, where they're like, I don't know if I get really plain mean comments, but you know, if people are like, oh, you're ugly, I'll just be like, okay, like, you know, it depends on what the comment is. If it's just someone being mean, like, I don't really give a crap. You know, and I don't mind people giving like actual constructive criticism, like, can you do more of this? And, you know, I have been editing my videos shorter, even though it's confusing because some people say like, I could listen to you talk forever, like keep the long version. And then other people say like, oh, this is too long, like you talk too much. And so it's hard to decide what to do. What I'm probably going to start doing in future is keep the long version that I like, post it on Patreon, and then keep the short version on YouTube. So that if people really feel like seeing the long version, they can pay $1 a month and go see it. You know what I mean?
Huh. That's actually a really good idea. Because the people who want to hear a lot of you can pay $1 because they want to support you and they really like hearing you. I like that idea a lot, actually.
Yeah, so that's kind of my way of... Because I know that I have an issue with... Because the problem is I'm extremely extroverted. I think I said that before. My extroversion is like 92nd percentile. So I love talking. I'm an open book. It depends on the other person. If the other person is moderately extroverted, then we just talk forever. And so I know that I talk a lot. And I'm trying to work on it. But I,
in the last 2 years, have... So my dad and I talk a lot, and he talks a lot, and I talk a lot, but and you talk a lot.
Oh my God.
What I've discovered, especially in conversations with like in work or with clients or with, I guess, in podcasts, less so in podcasts because that's my time to just talk a lot. But in normal conversation, I'm very aware of how much I talk now, not to the point of like, oh no, I have to stop talking, but it's like, okay, I need to balance the conversation so that I am not leading the conversation entirely, so that the other person feels as though I'm listening, because I also am wanting to listen. And so I make time for me to respond and active listen rather than talk. Oh, right, you're here.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'm guilty of that, and it's bad because that's like, what's the point of talking at that point, in my opinion? Because I'm like, I was just talking at them, and it sometimes makes people, if you don't read them correctly, it makes them uncomfortable because they're just sitting there and like, yeah, yeah.
I think
Like,
part of the problem is that I think very quickly, and so I talk to match it, and I'm afraid to lose my train of thought. That's the other thing.
That's exactly me.
Because then what happens is if you force yourself to stop, but then the other person doesn't have anything to say, well, I lost my train of thought, and now the conversation is awkward. So that's...
Yeah, there's that. Even there's been a few times where we had to reset the microphones and the cameras, and quite quickly we've both forgotten what we were talking about. Like, this has happened several times now. And this happens throughout the day for me, like in meetings or in conversation or anyone on the street, or if I'm talking, or at the grocery store, I'm like mid-sentence, I'm like, wait, what was I talking about? Like,
Oh my gosh.
like it happens a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so back in 2012, consistency wasn't a thing. I put out this one video, and then it led to an Africa one because I did show it to a bunch of people at school, and it was really good. And people really liked it. They're like, wow. Then I went to college, and I was going to do like the filmmaking program and this and that, but that was like for a graduate program, I think. So I went into interactive media design and production, which it was a lot of creative stuff, but a lot of coding as well, which I discovered I don't necessarily like doing a lot of coding. It's not necessarily my thing. I understand it, which is good, and I think it's great to understand code and the theory behind it. It wasn't really my thing. So the first year, okay, this is where the story gets a little bit ludicrous. I finished the first year, honor roll, everything, blah, blah, blah. That's good. This is where it gets interesting. It's a 2-year program at college. I finished the first year. And then I had summer. And during that summer, I was actually really depressed. Because I couldn't find a job. Everyone else was out working and this and that. And I had very little work experience at that point, which is laughable now because everyone knows I have the most work experience of anyone I know. And I'll get to that because I don't know if you know this, but it's really funny. This is about to escalate in the next 2 years.
Oh, man.
Okay. So at the very end of the summer, I got 2 jobs within 2 days of each other. I'd been looking the entire summer. At the very end, like I was starting school in like 5 days. I got a job as a dishwasher and at a Subway. And I quit at the Subway. Then I started school, and I immediately, like, we had a project that we had to do. We had a client come in, and we had to do a project for them. And I was immediately like, wait, I can do this. Why am I doing this for free for school? I can just go get these clients myself. I quit. Bye. So I dropped out of school.
Oh my God.
And I continued dishwashing and doing videos on the side. And then I did hosting at the same place. And then I did busing at the same place. And then I got a job at Mark's Warehouse, just in retail. Then I got headhunted by Best Buy because they're like, oh yeah, your customer service is pretty good. So then now I was working as a busser and at Mark's Warehouse and at Best Buy. And then I got headhunted by TD Bank, and then I was working at TD. It was a call center only. So then I quit as the busser, and I was working at Mark's, Best Buy, and TD. Nope. That's my timer to get out of here and go to work. I'm going to finish this, though.
Yes.
So then I was working at those 3 places. Then I did an internal video at TD for like an environmental thingamabob. It was really good. I went to like a landfill. It was fun. And because I did that at that work, I then found myself the next week hanging out of an airplane with the door off the side doing aerial photography.
I feel like I just zoned out and came back in. What? Heck?
So someone saw me filming at TD and says, "Oh, you do like professional video stuff, and do you do photos too?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely.
I can figure that out."
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, "Cool. My dad does like aerial heritage photography of like rural houses." So I straight up went into a bush plane with a pilot and with no door on the side, strapped in by a seatbelt, hanging out of the side of the plane at like, I think it was like probably about 300 or 400 feet. And I was doing aerial photography suddenly.
That is so badass.
It was. I was like, this is so cool. So anyway, there was that. And then an opportunity came up and suddenly I was in the oil field in Alberta.
Heck?
I quit all my jobs and moved to Alberta and I started in the oil field. Just on rigs. I was doing cementing because why not? I clearly don't have any experience in that. Why not just learn it? So anyways, I did that. And then the oil prices started to tank. And I was extraordinarily happy at that point because have you seen me? Like I'm scrawny. I don't actually have that much muscle.
Poor you.
So I got laid off.
Aww.
And I was so happy because I got severance because of that. And then I went in the next day to work because I made connections, especially with office staff, because I connected more with those people than the people on the rigs. And so I went in, I said goodbye, and they're like, "Oh, that sucks. Like, hey, you're a nerd though, right? My husband," so one of them was like, "My husband works at TELUS. Do you want to have a job at TELUS doing telecommunications, like technician work?" I'm like, "Okay." Cut to like 4 months later, I had gone through 3 months of training paid for by TELUS, and I like was on like telephone poles and learning about like all of these different stuff, all of these different things. So yeah, now I was a telecommunications technician out in Alberta. I was like, okay, cool, career job. For 6 months, I did that. And then I was in the 4th year coming up to like, this is the final year that I could go back to school without having to redo a whole year. So I was like, okay, you know what? I've now experienced working for 2 years doing
various
like
things.
10 different jobs, like so many different things. It was awesome because I was able to try so many different things, so many different jobs and positions and fields. I'm like, you know what? I think media is still where I want to do it, where I want to do my
life.
Yes. So I packed up my car. I gave my 2 weeks. It ended up being like about 1 week notice. And I packed up my Subaru Outback and drove across Canada in 4 days. And on the 5th day, I started school.
Why did that sound like Genesis? Like the Bible. And on the 5th day, sorry.
And on the 5th day, I started school again. So then I finished off that year. It was pretty uneventful. I pretty much went through just doing school. They're pretty uneventful. I guess during that, I almost got a client, and then that went through because the planning sucked. But that was through the school. They just didn't know what they wanted. And then at the end of school, I got a co-op position and a job at 2 different places. And during that, I was also working during contract for a contract. Anyways, at the local university. So I was again doing 3 jobs and doing school. And then I quit all of that after about 4 months. And I was like, nope, never mind. I'm going to start my own company.
Okay, just casually.
Yeah. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to take on clients. I'm going to do all my own things and start my own company. So that's what I did. I had my dad's help too, because he's like, I like script writing and planning and logistical management of stuff. I'm like, perfect. Let's try to do this. So I did all the technical stuff. He wrote a lot of stuff, and
here we are.
Here we are up until I discovered that it was pretty solitary. Because London, Ontario is not like Toronto. There's not a lot of creatives. It's also like not Montreal. It's less creative. It's very conservative. And yeah, I guess business wasn't that great because I had all these grand plans for awesome videos. But when you do your own company and you don't want a boss, your boss is everyone. All your clients are your boss. So I had many bosses and I wanted to do my own things, and I didn't have enough of a portfolio of my own work to show examples of what it could be. Instead, it's like, can you please do a corporate video that has headshots and some B-roll and that's it? And that's fine, but it's not that creative. Yes, you get paid for it, but even the pay, once you add things up, including the revenue didn't account for all the expenses. So my profit, if you're unaware, it goes revenue minus expenses equals profit. My profit wasn't really there either because I wasn't taking on as many clients as I could. And so then I decided recently in the last 9 months that I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop doing company stuff, at least primarily. And I'm going to get a real job. So then I started looking for a real job, but I quickly found out that, I need a portfolio. So it took 3 months to build up a portfolio and the portfolio website that I have right now, because there's so much to it. I guess included in that is the cover letter stuff and resume and all of that. But now I'm working as a digital content specialist or content creator, visual storyteller, all of that kind of jammed into one role. And meanwhile, on the side, I can do what I want and I don't have to worry about generating a profit.
Right.
So yeah, that. Now you know Ben.
I do? I already know everything about you. Well, that was quick.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, man. Damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of up and downs, though. But I think everyone has ups and downs.
Do you have any specific projects that you're dying to do?
I think it's funny because people have asked me that, and there's no one project that I want to do.
Or style of project. Because I know what it is for me.
Short film?
Yes.
So we can totally do that. I think us even talking about it now and moving forward with it, it can happen. I don't know what it might be, but it can happen. We can make it happen. I think for me, it's the quantity over, and not even over quality, but it's quantity right now, because what I want to do is refine what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know what I want to do right now, but what I know is that I have a list of ideas that keeps on growing and I can't catch up with it. I have a list on Google Keep, which is my notepad on my phone of choice. It syncs and it's nice and everything. And I have over 300 or 400 different ideas on it for both blog posts and video posts and everything. And it grows every week by 20. And I can't do 20 videos per week. So obviously, inevitably I'll be doing videos for the rest of my life because I can't catch up with these.
Yeah.
And eventually I want to make the short films or these short little YouTube videos or full on documentaries. I'm working on one right now. It's about my, I guess you could say ancestors, but they're from Nova Scotia and they came here and they came with nothing, but I think might have been $50 or $20 or something. Then they made not an empire, but they have created a livelihood for their whole family. So there's that. But none of this happens if you don't already have the mentality of, okay, I want to produce things. Right. And especially with my growing list of stuff, I need to continuously pump things out. And podcasts, I want to do because I want to connect with you again and other people again and this and that. And if you didn't know, you're a YouTuber. So that means we can collaborate. And there's, I think, 2 other people that I know that are YouTubers as well. So just by talking and making a podcast, this documents it. So that's okay. I have an answer for you.
Yeah.
After me talking and saying all of that, I have an answer. I want to document everything so that 5 years from now that I'm going to be consistent, I can see where I was, no matter how trashed this is or good it is. It doesn't matter. I think this actually came out really well. This is great because I got to learn about you. You got to learn about me.
Yay.
But it's documenting. I want to have this when I'm like 80 and look back and be like, yeah, that was me. I didn't have as many wrinkles and I didn't look like I was like gray and like.
Oh, man.
So I was going to say, I'm glad that you were able to have the energy, and now that you're going to just go pass out, you're fine.
Yeah. Like I could feel like I have this feeling that's like pulling me to the ground. It's like, you need sugar. You need to like lie down for a while, but it's all good. You know, I mean, the most difficult part is editing after. If I could just film videos, I could probably manage to do it if I had like a team or if I had someone to edit for me. But because of having to edit, that's the thing that takes the most energy, because I have to sit up and being in that position for like, it's so difficult. So anyway, the point is,
I've thought about this. It was fun. One more thing. I've thought about this.
Yeah.
What if you had monitors on like the ceiling and you laid down and had your keyboard and mouse like on your lap and like you just sat like, or laid down like just.
Yeah, I could probably make that work.
And then just looked up. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. That or facing downwards. So you just have the monitors like facing upwards on the ground. And then you just hang off the bed. Or you know those massage tables that just have this?
Oh, yeah,
like the hole.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I've been thinking of that for like 2 years now. I'm like, I should make this or something.
Definitely.
Just like an editing suite that just has you lying down, face
Yeah,
down.
well, that's the thing. Like, because you know those stand-up desks?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. You know, how did I know you were going to say that? Like, you seem like the type to have a stand-up desk. So, anyway, you know, a sitting position, then we have standing, then we have lying down, here. And then we have, like, ooh.
That's the standing desk, but I also have one at work. All right, sorry, go on. I totally got distracted there, as per usual.
I don't think I was saying anything.
Oh, no.
What?
You know, in podcasts, when someone starts talking about something and then quite quickly they get derailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've done this a few times.
Well, no, I mean, we were just saying like how this was fun. No, but I hope that, you know, this little podcast collaboration thing just like, you know, leads to more fun stuff together, because it's hard when you don't know people who are creative, and like we know each other and we're both creative. So, and we get along. I mean, and we don't talk that much, but like we get along, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's like a good match for doing creative stuff. Because we're both like hungry to do stuff, you know? So it'd be cool to see like where things will take us. But
where things will go. It'll be interesting looking back. See, this is why I want to document these things, because looking back, it's like, oh, they knew nothing. They knew nothing of what was going to happen.
Oh my God,
and it's
crazy. That's exciting.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because we don't know. Maybe it can go somewhere, maybe it won't. But now that we've even said that, it kind of sets the intention going forward, that now there's like that slight pressure of we should do something.
Well,
we said we were going to do something.
Here's the thing. I'm going to do a short film with someone. So if it's going to be you, then good, let's make it happen. And if it's not going to be you, I'm going to pressure someone else into doing it with me, because this is something that like the older I get, the more I want to do acting stuff and you know, even the writing part, like everything, like I find it all so interesting. And so I'm going to make it happen. I just hope you're one of those things, you know, and one of those like people that I can do it with, because, you know, so I'm going to make it happen. And the question is, do you want to make it happen? And do we actually end up doing it? So,
yeah, I think, you know what? I have an idea.
Ooh.
And it only came up because of this. You know Nicole?
Yeah.
Araj.
Yeah.
Yes? Araj. Oh no, I
Araj,
butchered her
I
name
think.
probably. Araj. Araj. Do I need to roll the R's?
I don't know how it's pronounced correctly. But.
And then her friend Keegan and I kind of became acquaintances or friends. We need to talk more to become friends, but he does audio. She does video. I do video. You do audio. He does everything as well. I think I'm going to podcast with them because I want to convince them to get into this. By the end of the next few podcasts, we might have an idea of what we can do for a short film thing.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, I don't know what, we need to do things in a way that doesn't cost money. You know what I mean? Like, we have to do something. So, I mean, I actually have a short story that I wrote, but I mean, like, I feel like it would, like, I just feel like it wouldn't be easy to do, I guess. I mean, in some ways it's easy, but in some ways it isn't. So, I need to figure out, like, what's an idea that could actually work. And then we can all write something together. Like, we all write, whoever likes writing, we can all write the scripts together. And, like, Nicole acts, And so, like, she's interested in acting, I'm interested in acting, like, and we're friends, which means it'll be even more fun. And, like, I don't know, it's cool. So I hope that we can accumulate more people and figure out an idea, because the thing is, like, by the time I come back to Canada, which I might be back for Christmas, I don't know yet, but usually I'm back in the summer, and so it'd be nice so that when I get back, we have everything ready, script is done, everything's organized, we just need to do it, That's kind of why I'm like pushing for it, because I want to make sure that time doesn't just keep escaping, That's why.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, I fully agree with that, with the time escaping. This actually came up yesterday. I was talking to, what was it? It might have been Natalia, actually. My girlfriend. No matter how much you're doing, time is the constant. Like, it will not stop. It just keeps on going. And by the time you're 90, you will have lived 90 years. And that's that. So I want to try to do as much as I can. But for the last 3 years, I feel like I've kind of failed on that. So I kind of want to change that now and just constantly pump out things. I want to make sure I get enough sleep, because then it increases my lifespan. If you don't, then it decreases. So there's that careful balance. But there's also like, if I'm doing this thing that I don't need to be doing, which can be passive relaxation, which we just covered, instead of the active relaxation or active hobby. But I'm fine with doing that and decompressing. I know a lot of YouTubers are like burning out and all of that. I don't want that to happen when I haven't even started. So I'm playing a careful balance. But yeah, I want to push this forward. We can come up with an idea at some point, and I'll recruit some people and we'll figure this out. Yeah. Yes. But if you keep on pushing, then that's good, because everyone always has a lot of different things that they need to do, a lot of different priorities.
Yeah, but that's why I want to start
wheel gets some grease
now, because, like, at least if we start the idea slowly, okay, here's an idea, and then every week maybe you spend, even if you spend 10 minutes on it, at the end you still get like closer to it, and then that way the script can stand the test of time, so that when you look back on it months later, like, is this still good and worth doing? Do I need to make adjustments? That's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Like, I want it to stand the test of multiple people, of time, and so that we don't have to rush, because I don't want to rush it. I want it to be good, so
Yay. All right, well, we ended on that.
Well, no, the fact that we want to do something creative, because I think even the people following me would be interested in that,
Yeah, it sounds like you have a fun group of followers that are pretty into you.
I hope. So yeah.
All right, well, I guess this is a good enough place to end, because I have to be at work in 20 minutes.
Wow.
So it'll be fun.
How long does it take to get there?
20 minutes.
Oh my God, go, dude.
It's fine. All right. Well, that was a fun chat. We chatted for, oh my God,
2 hours.
My recorder says 2 hours exactly.
Told you.
Oh, I should end it right at 2 hours. Okay. And bye.
Bye.